So, guys, we are starting. The first topic of today is finding GCD using the Euclidean algorithm. As you as you all know that GCD is the highest common factor. For example, GCD of 2 and 4 is 2, 4 and 8 is 4, and so on. So the easiest and the fastest way to calculate GCD is using the Euclidean algorithm. So what does Euclidean algorithm says is that if GCD of A and B equals to K, then GCD of A plus B, comma B will also be equals to K, because it's pretty obvious that if GCD of A and B is equals to K, then A plus B and B will the GCD of A plus B and B will also be equals to K. For example, if the GCD of 2 and 6 is equals to 2, so the GCD of 2 and 8 will also be equals to 2, isn't it? And also the GCD of 8 and 6 will also be equals to 2. Now, another thing that we can see from here, that if we replace A by B by K, then A equals to A plus B equals to K, then A equals to K minus B. So what does that imply? That it implies that if GCD of K comma, oh, take it as K1, GCD of K1 equals to K1 comma B equals to K, then GCD of K1 minus B comma B will also be equals to K. Till this, is everything is clear or not? Hello, hello.
Yes,
Till here
Bhaiya.
everything is clear.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, so what what we have seen, that if GCD of A comma B equals to K, then GCD of A minus B comma B will also be equals to K. Now we can continue this, and we can also write GCD of A minus NB comma B is also equals to K, because GCD of A minus 2B comma B will also be equals to K, and so on, such that A minus NB is greater than equals to 0. Now is this clear?
Yes.
And A minus NB is nothing but equals to A mod B, where mod is the remainder when you divide A by B. Now is this clear? Why A minus NB equals to A mod B? Is this clear, or I need to elaborate on this point? Why A minus NB is equals to A mod B?
Clear, Bhaiya.
It's clear.
Yes.
Okay. So GCD of A comma B equals to GCD of A mod B comma B. So this is the main algorithm which this is the main Euclidean algorithm, that if GCD of A comma B equals to GCD of A mod B comma B, nothing else. So you can see here, this is the very good website for CP algorithms. I am sharing the link. You can see that here GCD of A comma B equals to GCD of B comma A mod B, and here is the pseudocode. This is a base case that if B equals to 0, then we can directly print or return A, because GCD of 0 A comma 0 equals to A. In fact, GCD of anything means any number comma 0 equals to that number. So if B equals to 0, we are directly returning A. Otherwise, we are calculating in that formula that GCD of A comma B equals to GCD of B comma A mod B. So we are doing this till we are getting a base result of 0, and we are returning that. So it's the fastest way and also the easiest way. It's the fastest way because it's approximately runs in a logarithmic time, because you are because when A and B are given, you are converting this into A mod B. So the number is getting reduced very drastically by only one operation. So it generally takes very less operations for any number to get reduced to 0, and then we get the base case and we get the result. So GCD is okay, yes or no? Or should I means make a summary of it once again? Hello, am I audible?
It, it's okay, भैया.
Okay, okay. So we have done our first topic of today. We are now moving on to the second. Sonak will explain calculating means printing the factors of a number. Sonak, you can continue.
Yeah, okay. Close the presentation, please. Okay, hi guys. So, uh, as I have said earlier that earlier an session on complexity was uploaded on YouTube. So we planned this session mainly to explain to you how complexity plays a very important role in competitive programming, and all the three algorithms that we are teaching you today is very basic, and maybe if you had computer science in your plus 2 11 and 12, then you would have learned about these algorithms, but all those basically they taught you in a very naive way and the complexity was very high. For example, the GCD one which Anish taught you earlier, if you try to do it in the normal way, I mean the very obvious way, then it will take O of n time. That is the minimum. If GCD, if you try to find GCD of A and B, then it is the complexity is O of minimum of A and B. Uh, but in this way, the Euclidean algorithm reduces it drastically to log of n time, and it's very important when you try when the uh, constraints given are like 10 to the power 9, 10 to the power 18, or something like that. Uh, and now we will be talking about the finding the factors. This is also very uh, known problem that you can say that finding if a number is prime or not. So let's see if let's say we are trying to find out if a number n is prime or not. So what we have learned in class 11 and 12, the you know run a loop from uh, I equals to 1 to I equals to n, and count the number of factors, and if it is greater than 2, then it's not prime. If it's equal to 2, then it's prime. For example, let's here, if n equals to 10, let's say n equals to 10, and then uh, let's keep the count of the factors in C. So when for the loop, when I is equals to 1, it divides 10. So the count, the C value is increased by 1. If it was earlier 0, so now it becomes 1. And now when the it comes 2, it again divides, so it's increased by 1, so it's 2. For 3, does not divide, so it's 2 again. For 4, does not divide, so it's 2. Similarly, 5, it divides 3, and the rest is does not divide, so 3. And the on number 10, it divides 10, so it increased by 1. So here we can see that uh, the value of C is 4, so it's not prime. But if you see here, the how many times the loop is running, for n equals to 10, I have to run the loop 10 times. So it's of the order of O of n. But this is very high complexity if you see in some problems, because most of the problems you have to run it in O of log sqrt of n times. So now we will talk about how to find it in O of square root of n complexity. Uh, Now, first we have to see one theorem that if uh, n is divisible by, say, n is divisible by a, uh, then let's say a into some number b equals to n. This is quite obvious. So now it is the theorem states that um one of the numbers between a and b has to be less than or equals to square root of n. This is a theorem. You can prove it if you are from computer science or IT. You will have this proof when you are in the third semester. So you will learn that there. So I'm not going into the formal proof here, but if you take some examples, like for example 10, if you take the example uh, wa- uh, 10, then 1 divides 10, so 1 into 10 equals to 10, so 1 is less than square root of 10, which is roughly about 3.2. 2 divides 10, so 2 into 5 is equals to 10, so 2 is less than square root of 10. If we take some perfect squares like 9, then 3 into 3 equals to 9, then minimum waveform is less than equals to square root of n, so 3 is equals to square root of n. So we will exploit this theorem to find factors in square root of n times. So what we have to do is, if so, try to understand this fact that if a number a divides n, and so it's less than square root of n. Let's suppose that it's less than square root of n. Then there has to be a number b which is greater than square root of n. So using this logic, we will, let's say we run a loop for I equals to, say, 1 to I equals to square root of n plus 1. And as you know, square root of n can give you float number, and loop doesn't run in float number, so we have to typecast it to int. So using this loop, if now let's say I keep a counter 0, so if n mod I equals to 0, then as I said that if a number less than square root of n less than or equals to square root of n divides the number, then there has to be another number greater than square root of n, which will also divide n. So going by this logic, c should be incremented by 2. But in the case of 9, 3 into 3 equals to 9. So when the for loop comes to 3, it divides n, which is 9, and you are also increasing it by c by 2, which is not correct because both the numbers are equal. So here we will keep one corner case. You may say that if I into I equals to n, that is, it is the same number, then you don't have to add 2. Uh, Now you can, so here in C, you get the count of the factors, including 1 and the number itself. So if now you can check, you can use this to check if the number is prime or not, and also you can use this um, algorithm in as a subpart of several other programs, because in lot of problems we have to find the number of factors and then do this or that. Here sqrt of n is very important. So for the prime, if c is greater than 2, then it's prime. So is it clear?
Yeah, why it was square root of n plus 1. I
Okay,
looked
good one.
yesterday.
So here I forgot to mention that this is for the Python code, because um, if in Python, if you want, if you code in Python, you know that if you write a for loop for I equals to 1 to n, then I will run from I equals to 1 to I equals to n minus 1. Okay, so basically here, if let's say if the number is uh, say 10, so square root of n is roughly around 3.2. So int of square root of n will make it to integer, which is 3. So if I run the loop from I equals to 1 to 3, then it will check for I equals to 1 and I equals to 2. But I equals to 3 will not be checked. For example, if you take the number 9, square root of n is equals to square root of 9 equals to 3. So if you run it here, it will check for I equals to 1, I equals to 2. It will not check for I equals to 3, because here I equals to 1 to, so here if we don't put the plus 1, it will be I equals to 1 to I equals to 3. It will check for I equals to 1 and I equals to 2. And then it will give you n equals to 9 as a prime number according to this logic. So it will give you wrong answer. So this is basically, the plus 1 is basically for the Python code.
Okay, we got
Anything else? Okay, I hope you have understood that. Anish, hello Anish.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, so you take over.
Okay, I am starting.
And then after this, since we have time, we have not wasted much time, we may discuss some problems on code
I'm
structure.
sorry. So the last topic of today is exponentiation, or a to the power b. So you are given two integers a and b, and you have to calculate a to the power b. Means if you are given 2 and 3, you have to calculate 2 to the power 3, that is equals to 8. So what's the basic approach you would do? I would like to hear from you. If you are given two integers a and b, how would you calculate a to the power b? Anyone? No one.
Using power function,
Yes, I can't hear. One second.
using power function,
No, no.
Don't use
That's a
multiply a
language
b
function.
times.
What's the logic?
Multiply a
If
b times.
yes, so the most naive or basic approach is to multiply a b times. Now, is this a very good approach? The answer is no,
No.
because the loop is running o to the power b times. Now, what if in the problem there are given 2 and 10 to the power 9? Then you can't do this. It will give time limit exceeded. So what we will do here is follow a more optimum or optimized approach. Now, one thing that a to the power b equals to a squared to the power b by 2, isn't it? For example, 2 to the power 4 equals to 2 to the power 4 to the power 2 and equals to 16 to the power 1. So here it is a to the power 4 b by 4, and it goes on. So what we are going to do basically is take a to the power b and go on like this: a square b by 2, a to the power 4 b by 4, till here we get 0 or 1. 0, not 1. A to the power something. No, sorry, one. Till here we get 1, not 0. Till here we get 1. So the answer will be a to the power x. Now anyone tell that how many times the loop is running if we can do like this?
Log n.
Yes, correct. The loop will run log to the power base 2 b times, not n, because it's b, not n.
Okay, sorry.
Now is it clear? Why is it log 2b? Or should I explain once more why is it log 2b?
Yeah, once more, once more.
Once more.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Take this example: 2 to the power 8. So it's equals to 4 to the power 4, 16 to the power 2, 256 to the power 1. So the answer is 256. So the loop has run 1, 2, and 3 times. So log 28 is 3, because every time the power is getting halved. If it is b, then it is getting b by 2. Then again it is getting b by 4. So it's a geometric series, and the number of times will be log to the power base 2n, because it's getting divided by 2. Now is this okay?
Yes. But what if B will be odd then?
Yes, we are coming to that. Now what if it's 2 to the power 7? Then it's nothing but 2 into 2 to the power 2 into 2 to the power 6. we can just multiply it. For example, if a to the power b and b is odd, then it's nothing but a into a to a square b by 2. 7 by 2 is 3, mind you, in computer, because everything is in integer, nothing in double. If b is odd, we can just multiply a once more time and then we can continue our process from here on. The complexity remains the same because b is getting halved also here also. Just we are multiplying a here and going on. So I am showing you the code here once again. See, uh, look at this. Uh, Here x is the base and y is the power. So till y is greater than equals to 0, that means y is not equals to 1. This is basically if y is odd. Just as you told that if y is odd, then we are multiplying a here. See, they are multiplying x. So if y is odd, then we are multiplying x to the answer from beforehand. This one, we are multiplying x beforehand, and then we are dividing y by 2. This is actually dividing y by 2. Just as we are, just like here we are dividing from b to b by 2, and we are squaring a. They are also squaring x. So basically, if we have to find x to the power y and x to the power y, then we are checking that if y is odd, then we are multiplying x to the answer from beforehand, because if b is odd, then there will be one extra x that's coming like this, and then we are squaring x and dividing y by 2, and we are going on like this till we get y equals to 1 or y greater than 0. Both are basically the same thing, and then we are printing or returning the answer. Now is this clear?
Yes, yes.
So any questions on this? So these are the three very basic concepts of number theory which you will require in almost every number theory problems. These are only the subparts of a problem. We will do next day sieve of Eratosthenes. That's a very good algorithm of finding the smallest prime number or other things in n log n. So any questions on this? So I guess no questions are there. Okay, then we'll start. Sure.
একটা
So
দুটো
any
প্রবলেম দেখিয়ে দিবি লাস্ট ডিভিশন 2 এর এ আর বিটা দেখিয়ে দে লাস্টের ডিভিশন 2 এর আজকের না আগেরটা স্প্লিট ইট আর ম্যাক্স মিক্সটা যদি দেখাতে প্লাস দেখিয়ে দিতে পারি
ওটায় নাম্বার থিওরি কি ছিল?
আমাদের ছিল না দেখিয়ে দে দুটো প্রবলেম
না না থাক, আজকে অন্য, এটা অন্য টপিক।
তা দেখছি ম্যাক্স মিক্সটা কিসের ছিল আচ্ছা ম্যাক্সটা ইয়েটা দেখিয়ে দে বিটা দেখিয়ে দে বা থিওরি না মানে ওই আর কি মেক্সটা বুঝিয়ে দেবে একটু
Okay. Another thing in number theory is max. So max is nothing but the smallest number which is not present in an array. So for example, if the
present করছি
oh, so max is basically the smallest number which is not present in the array. So for example, if our array contains 0, 1, 3, 4, 10, 6, so max is 2 because 2 is not present here. So it's basically uh, smallest number, smallest positive number which is not present in the array. Nothing else. This is just a terminology, not an algorithm. You will get these terms in various problems. So it's so I told you the meaning of the term. Max is just the smallest positive number which is not present in the array. So শেষ করে দিই
বিটা দেখালি না বিটা দেখিয়ে দে
কোন বিটা
1496b
লিংক দিতে পাচ্ছি না So since we are discussing max about max today, so let's do a problem on max. So here is the question. I am giving you the link. So the question says that you are given a multiset. So what's a multiset? Is nothing but a collection of numbers. So for example, let the set contains 1402. So it is saying that you are given this multiset and every time you have to add a plus b by 2 to this multiset where a is max and b is the largest number here. Yes, so b is the largest number here. So here what is the max? Max is 3 and largest number is 4, and this is cell. You guys know what cell is? Yes or no? So basically cell is nothing but for example 7 by 2, cell of 7 by 2 is 4 because 7 by 2 gives 3.5. This is rounded off to 4. Means if a number gives 3.1, it is rounded off to 4. 3.0 remains 3. Just when just as it crosses 3.0, it becomes 4. Nothing else. So the problem is saying this, that A is the max and B is the largest element in the multiset, and you have to add A plus B by 2, cell of A plus b by 2. So a is here 3 and b is here 4. So 3 by 4, 3 plus 4 by 2 cell is 4, 7 by 2. So you are adding a 4 here. So this now becomes 1 4 0 2 4. So the question is saying that you have to do these operations k number of times, and after doing the k operations, you have to calculate the number of distinct elements in S. So after performing one operations, we have got this. So how many distinct elements are here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 distinct elements are here. So is the question clear? After this, I will tell the approach. Yes or not? Is the question clear or not? Am I audible? Okay, it's clear. So basically, what we are doing that when we are given the multiset, to calculate max, we are keeping a counter and we are running a loop here that while the counter is, let it be S. While the counter is in S, we are incrementing the counter. This is how you calculate max here. So for first the counter is 0. 0 is in the set. So we are making it 1. 1 is also in the multiset. So we are making it 2. 2 is also there. So we are making it 3. Now 3 is not there. So the max here remains 3. And you know how to find the largest element. So it's 4. So we are adding 3 plus 4 by 2 here. And we are repeating this for k times. And then we are counting the number of distinct elements and we are printing it. Now this is not the means full approach, but for today, take this because the full approach will be a bit heavy on you for today. This is the means basic approach, and we have to do one more optimization on this for getting the full approach. That I will discuss next day. For today, is this okay? That how we are calculating this basic approach? Uh, yes or no? Okay. So any questions for today, or else we will close? Okay. So thank you and goodbye.